Are you stuck in a rut? Let's go ahead and get ourselves out, shall we? Hey there, Enterprisers, what's good? It's Jason Ligo here again, and in this video, I'm talking to you about how to dig yourself out of a rut. That's right, how to dig yourself out of a rut. We all get there, all right? And especially in the game of entrepreneurship, if you're trying to build a business, you cannot escape this. At one time or another, you're gonna find yourself at a mental standstill. It's just the reality, right? And there's different names for it depending on the field you're in. For instance, if you're a writer, they call it writer's block. At the end of the day, a rut is a rut is a rut. You're stuck in a place where you're stagnant, you feel like you're spinning your wheels, you feel like no matter what you try to do to get yourself out of the ditch or out of the hole, as it were, you just do it to no avail. Nothing seems to help. Don't worry. If you're in this position, I would honestly commend you for getting this far. Do you know what I mean? Usually these things happen after some success, after some traction, and oftentimes before a large breakthrough. So just know that if you're in there, not only is this a good thing for you potentially, but you're also in some really good company as well. I can't tell you how many people I know, just read biographies for crying out loud, right? But how many people I know of that did very well, that are doing very well, and they're stuck in ruts or have been, and there's no reason why you can't dig yourself out just like they do as well. In this video, I want to go ahead and give you 3 very simple but powerful ways to dig yourself out of a rut. And it's more of a progression, as you will, as opposed to 3 different ways. But I'm telling you, if you put these 3 things to work, there's no reason that you can get out of that rut, get out of there soon, and get back to your winning ways. Let's get started. Number 1, take stock of the situation. Take stock of the situation. Obviously, you need to be able to admit to yourself that you're in a rut, and that's okay. Now, honestly, I know that sounds a little bit rudimentary, but the truth of the matter is, you've heard it before, you have to be able to be honest about something. And if you're in denial, then that is no way to move forward in however you want to go ahead and do that, especially in entrepreneurship. So first, take stock of the situation and figure out, okay, am I in a rut and why? Identify what's going on here, all right? Why are you in a rut? Is it because you're a little bit burnt out? Is it because things just continue to go awry and you need to figure out what's the reason there? Is it something wrong with the way that you've been doing things, all right? Is it someone on your team that is not pulling their weight? And as a result, now you're finding yourself doing 3 or 4 more jobs while you're paying them to do theirs and depending on them to do theirs. Do you see what I'm saying here? Take stock of the situation and try to really identify, why am I not moving forward? If you do this, now you can proceed to figure ways out of it. Number 1, take stock of the situation. Number 2, take small steps, okay? Take small steps. Now let me go ahead and illustrate. I'm not sure if you're familiar with quicksand at all right? But if you look into it, you'll find that obviously you know about quicksand. You've seen it in maybe movies or cartoons, and once you're in quicksand, it feels like you are sinking, and you are sinking, and it feels like no matter what you do, try as you might, you can't get out of it. As opposed to like when you go swimming. If you're swimming and you're drowning, right, the more that you kick and flail, you can usually bring yourself to the top. Whereas with quicksand, the understanding is the more that you flail and the more that you try to power yourself out, the more that you find yourself sinking much closer and quicker to your demise, right? And you don't want that. So rather than take big steps and big motions to get yourself out of this thing, take small steps, right? In quicksand, one of the things you're supposed to do is to flatten yourself out, if at all possible, and slowly move yourself to an edge that'll give you a chance to grab onto something for leverage and help you pull yourself out of something. I think that this illustration is so parallel to digging yourself out of ruts, especially ones that are mentally based, right? If you are in a mental situation, in other words, if you are at a mental standstill, this is a great way for you to go ahead and get yourself out. Take small steps, recalibrate, reconfigure, and get back to doing the basics sometimes. That's really what it comes down to, right? Take small steps. Rather than try to figure out how to get out of this thing at this astronomical large level, just do a little bit something that you know will move you forward. Just do a little bit something that reminds you of how good things used to be. You understand? Do a little something that brings you back to the place where you're happy, you're calm, you're collected, you're productive, you're feeling accomplished with what you're doing, you have purpose in your life. Those are the things that you want to do. And it might start with rekindling and rebuilding some relationships. It might start from actually taking steps away from the business, from the mechanics, from the technology, from the machine, and reaching out to someone, right? And using that to go ahead and recalibrate your mind, your thinking, your heart, your soul, what have you. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Number 2, take small steps. Number 3, and finally, take time for self-care. Okay, take time for self-care. Now, if you know me, you know that I am kind of a hardcore brass tacks black and white. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty business type of a guy, right? And I've often said, I don't do a whole lot of woo-woo, frou-frou things. I don't do a whole lot of, mindset and manifestation. I'm not saying those things aren't real and not important, but it's just not my forte. I'm not big on it. The same is true with self-care, but I would be amiss, I would be wrong, and I would be doing you a disservice and an injustice if I didn't promote and teach you about it and mention taking time for self-care, because it actually is something that is real. And sometimes if you get ahead of this, then you won't get in a rut, all right? And I find that to be true in my case, in my career, in my business, in life in general, right? If you don't take time for self-care, it doesn't have to be a whole lot, but sometimes you need to get in front of your own situation, right? You need to take time to step away, enjoy, to stop and smell the roses, as it were. Take a small mini break, mini vacation, and do that. It's one of those things where in entrepreneurship especially, if you're wearing many hats, if you're building a business while you have a full-time career or a full-time calling like I do, you get to work and it's dark, you put your head down, you get to business, and then all of a sudden it's dark again before you leave, and you realize why you're so exhausted and you have had no time to enjoy anything, right? As an entrepreneur, it's kind of in our nature to be workaholics, right? So it's very easy to set self aside and get down to business. But this is where things happen like this, where you get stuck in a mental rut. And honestly, I've been in places where I've worked myself to the bone so hard sometimes that I start to become ill, get sick, fall under the weather, and as much as I don't want to admit those things, I've taken a look at those things and realized that, yeah, they're true, they're connected. There's a reason why I'm feeling this way. And so take time for self-care. Again, it doesn't have to be a whole lot. I'm not saying that you need to go out on a huge cruise or vacation every now and again. You might not have the resources to do so, and even then, it's maybe not a good idea. But small little things of self-care. Make sure that you are eating well, sleeping well, exercising, stretching, moving, experiencing love in your life, right? Taking time with your loved ones, with your kids, I'll be the first person to tell you, lock the door and make sure they don't come to you so you can be productive. I've got videos on that and I stand behind those things, but I'm telling you what, you also need to take time to hug them, love them, let them know that what you're doing is for them and their benefit and their betterment and their future. You understand what I'm saying? Take time for self-care. Whatever that means to you, take time for self-care and watch yourself, dig yourself out of any rut and move forward to revolutionizing the world just like you intended to. There you have it, my friends. Listen, I hope that this was helpful to you. Make sure that you give me a like and a comment, subscribe, and also hit the notification bell, because that way you don't miss out on any more hot new content that I got coming down the pipe just for you. Also, if you haven't had a chance yet, click on the link in my description. It'll show you how to build your own wildly profitable online business, even if you've done nothing before, even if you failed at everything. Let's go ahead and get you going. Watch over my shoulder as I show you how it's done. This is Jason Ligo with Always Enterprise. I'll see you next time. Take care.